Elisabeth. How are you?
Good morning, Macarena. I'm great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm so happy to have you here in CPTED Talks. Finally, we could arrange the momentum.
Delighted to be here.
It's very good, and also because I work very close and hard with you for the ICA. We know each other, and I think you have many messages to spread with the audience regarding CPTED. So thank you for being here. And I will start, Elisabeth, reading your biography.
Thank you.
So Elisabeth Miller is an urban planner with the city of Saskatoon with a specialty in urban safety. Under her leadership, the city of Saskatoon has embedded the philosophy of safe growth and the principles of crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, as a way to achieve a safer Saskatoon in the city's official community plan. Currently, Elisabeth is the neighborhood safety coordinator in Saskatoon and responsible for working with the communities to identify issues, carry out risk assessments and safety audits, public engagement, and the implementation of safety recommendations. Elisabeth chairs the City of Saskatoon's CPTED Review Committee. She's also responsible for organizing and co-teaching Safe Growth CPTED courses to ensure that civic staff and other interested parties outside the organization are appropriately trained. Elisabeth is also an active member of the International CPTED Association and has been a board member for a number of years. Currently, she is the ICA Secretary. She is also an active member of the Canadian Institute of Planners and was instrumental in the collation and publication of SIP, a kid's guide to building great communities, a manual for planners and educators. Elisabeth views Safe Growth CPTED process as an important crossover with urban planning and an excellent vehicle for engaging children and youth in their community. Wow, a very, very, very bright career. Thank you, Elisabeth.
Thank you, Macarena.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you start in CPTED?
Well, I was exposed to CPTED when I went to a conference in BC. Was put on by the BC Crime Prevention organization, and that was the first time I had heard anything about crime prevention through environmental design. And because there was myself and another planner, and because we were doing a lot of work within neighborhoods, we saw that as a good way to talk about crime and to get the neighborhoods engaged, because these were at the time we were working in inner city neighborhoods, and so we'd heard about this concept, and we kind of did a little bit of searching around, and what we found, we just happened to stumble across a course that they were giving at the Saskatchewan Police College in Regina, which is about 3 hours from Saskatoon, where I live. And it was mainly for police through the college, but we managed to weasel our way in, and so I think we were there was a couple other planners, but for the most part, we were the only non-police people in that. We had to do a project. We had to bring a project to, and actually we were quite popular because as planners we could do some drawing and things, and so when we had to do presentations, we were pretty popular. And that was probably 1996 or 97. And what we saw as planners, what we saw was a really good connection with a way to talk about safety and crime prevention within the neighborhoods that was different from what we typically had been doing, which was mainly talking about just the level of crime stats through services. So unofficially, we started to apply the principles in the work that we did. We talked about some of those things. We incorporated it whenever we could. In fact, we actually started to write it into job descriptions just we didn't ask anybody, we just did it. And because I was lucky, and I had a very supportive manager at the time. And he really saw the connection between CPTED and planning and the things that we were doing. And for me, when the course that I took was sort of right at the time when we did first generation CPTED and second generation CPTED. And for me as a planner, the whole second generation, the community capacity and connectivity and culture, those things actually really spoke to me as a planner. So I got pretty excited about those things. You know, the first generation principles are good and they have their place, but once we got into the second generation stuff and we talked more about the people part of it, that really spoke to me. So I continued to be involved, and at one point, I think it was probably around 2001, they were trying to run a course in Calgary, and I was trying to get some people from Saskatoon to go so that I had somebody to talk to, and I wasn't just all by myself. Hello. And so it didn't look like the course was going to go ahead. So I said to the organizers, well, if I can get enough people together in Saskatoon, would you consider moving the course? And they said, well, yeah, sure. This is what we need. So I twisted every arm I could possibly get a hold of and actually made the number of people that I needed. There was a few people came in from out of town, and that was kind of a landmark class. It was basically our tipping point, because we had a significant number of people from our organization, from the city of Saskatoon. We had people from parks. We had people from sport and recreation, which are the ones that work directly with the communities around organizing sports and organizing the community associations. We had community consultants, which worked directly with community associations. We had some engineers, we had the planners, we had transit. And so we had this much larger group. And so informally, we started to talk about, well, you know, I have this project. Could you come and help me with my project? And then if you need any advice, if you need a second set of eyes, I can come and work on your group. So we started to get together informally, and we would review projects that we were working on and get everybody's opinion. So the people from parks, for example, they would comment on, they would look at the project. They had all the parks information and skill sets and knowledge, but then they put on their safety glasses, and we looked at it from a slightly different perspective. And then any of the recommendations were, you know, either implemented or not. We were very informal. So we embarked on a process of how are we going to formalize this within the city. We saw it as a real advantage to the planning and the engineering and the community work that was already being done. And so it was another way, an alternative to just straight policing, that we could work with the communities. And since we were already working with the communities through the planning process, then it just fit really quite well, particularly when you get into the principles are in second generation, and you do the community input and the community consultation. And the idea for us was, once we're finished with a local area plan, which is the process that we use, once we're finished with that, then the community's gone through the process and they know the connections. The next time a problem comes up, they can go, okay, what did we do the last time we had an issue like this? We talked to these people and we kind of went through this process. And so they have the skill set. They build that skill set and that knowledge base so that they can then address their own problems. They don't have to look to the city all the time. They go, no, I know how to do this, and I know who to contact, and I know how to get this information. And so it makes for a stronger community. So the example that I always use, and I know the engineers don't like it, but it's a really good example. So you know, when you have large, high speed, high traffic areas, you have what we call pedestrian overpasses or underpasses. And so the way that they were being built was that there was really no thought put into how people entered or exited or how they felt when they were in that. And so engineering would build these things because they didn't want people squashed by, you know, really heavy traffic. But then once they were done, they walked away, and we would have issues around maybe there was hiding spots, or it was a good place for somebody to wait and prey upon somebody coming through there by themselves. They didn't feel very good. They were kind of hidden. And so if we can address that at the design stage, where we don't, where we can build the pedestrian overpass or underpass or whatever it happens to be in a way that reduces the opportunity for crime to occur and increases users' perceptions of their safety, then we actually save money, because the engineers may walk away, they don't have anything else to do, and the phone calls come to police services, or they come to community services, or they come to some other part of the city. So basically what we're saying is here's our recommendation, and you can accept it. You can say, I understand what you're saying, but what if we did it this way? Or you can say, no, I'm not doing that at all. And as long as everybody understands what that risk is, and they choose, the senior staff of the city choose to say, you know what, I hear you, I read that, and we're just going to move ahead with it the way it is. That's fine, because they've made a well-informed decision. So anything that comes up afterwards, then you have to accept that risk.
In that sense, Elisabeth, you describe a very participatory process that I love much, and I am very aligned with that perspective from CPTED. Can you describe, in your experience, how relevant is to involve the political authorities? For example, you're working in a municipal level and you talk about your boss, but what about the mayor, for example? What is your experience about that?
Well, that's a really good question, because of course we're creatures of there's the administrative arm of the city, and there's the political arm, and sometimes the advice that you give council, they can accept it, they can change it, or they can say thanks, but I'm going to do it this way. And as frustrating as that can be, then you have to look at ways of how do you get that information out? So what kind of, some of the things that we did was that we went to senior staff and we did presentations, and we went to the developers liaison, which is the private sector. And we said, yes, we're going to review your developments, but it won't cost you more money, and it won't take more time. And these are some of the benefits. We've yet to have anybody sort of take up and use it as a marketing, we've looked at this from a specific point of view and a safer design, but that's often what you end up with. And so all of our civic structures, developments, and plant facilities all have to go through an interdisciplinary group called the CPTED Review Committee. So
perfect.
All of our we made a conscious choice to start with the city projects, the civic projects. So any project that the city runs or has significant money into it, or is a partner in it, then we require that project to go through a CPTED review. So we review it based on the 14 principles that Saskatoon has adopted, and then we make recommendations, and then the proponent or whoever's project it is has to respond to that, saying, yes, this is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to do it this way, or no, I'm not going to do that. So all of our projects go through that review, and we often will have, because they see the advantage of it, we often have private developers come through, and they'll ask if they could we look at their project.
This process is a very relevant process, and we hope that other countries or other municipalities could implement that process. It's a very recommended process. In that sense, Elisabeth, Canada is a very beautiful country and very well known worldwide as a very safe country. Do you think CPTED also has something to do with this crime situation in Canada with low rates of homicide, for example? Do you think, or it could be more implemented in Canada?
I think we are a little bit different here. It depends on where you are. Canada is a very, very big country. And so the difference from the East Coast and the Maritime provinces to the West Coast and those provinces, it differs quite a bit across the country. We have provinces with significant populations and very, very large cities like Toronto in Ontario, Vancouver in BC, and then we have like in Saskatchewan, our cities like Saskatoon is about 350,000. So we're much smaller, less dense communities, and we practice CPTED in a number of different ways. Not everybody practices it, and we've tried throughout the years to do presentations with the Canadian Institute of Planners and working with some of the kids that we in the schools in Saskatoon, particularly in neighborhoods that we're working in. We'll try and engage the kids. But across Canada, it's practiced a little bit differently, and I think that Saskatoon is probably has the most developed program. Although some of the other provinces, like Vancouver's been practicing it for quite a while, and often it's as opposed to having an identified program. Sometimes there's one person, like with all new things. Sometimes although it's not all that new, but you have somebody who acts as the catalyst within the community or within the design community or whatever it happens to be, and hopefully my hope is that I spread the knowledge and the interest wide enough that when I'm done, when I retire out of the city, that that will continue, that there will be people with knowledge to be able to continue that, because I think it's really valid.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful work because you are helping your community and you're helping to promote a safe strategy that is a very holistic strategy in your communities, and that's a beautiful work.
So we have offered training here in Saskatoon probably straight through since about 2000. So we're probably almost at our 20th year.
Wow.
COVID kind of got in our way this year, but we're probably almost at 20 years for offering the course, and the course has gone from having one or two external people join to some classes where 50% of the students are from outside the city of Saskatoon, connected, like they've got projects coming through, like they're private architects or landscape architects or that type of, and so they actually have to bring their projects through our committee.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's good to have the knowledge. So we've probably trained we've had up to almost 20 classes, and we probably put through about almost 300 people.
Yeah.
And of those people, then they sit on the CPTED review committee, and we're probably coming up to about 350 reviews, individual reviews that we've done.
A very good number. Yeah, very high number. Congratulations.
Thank
now
you.
I will shift you to another arena, to the ICA arena. Past year we met in the International CPTED Conference in Cancun. You went there with all board members, and we saw there that ICA is becoming a very international institution. Now we are launching the umbrella initiative worldwide, and you are part of that initiative also as ICA board member. And I want to have your opinion about the value of being connected with different regions of the world. What is your opinion about that?
Well, my story started way back when. I went to training in like '96. There was myself and my another planner, who unfortunately left the city and went elsewhere. So I was kind of by myself. So I didn't find the ICA right off the bat, and so I felt quite isolated because other than a few people, I really didn't know a lot of people that you could phone up. You know, as a planner, I know a lot of planners, and so I can phone somebody up and go, "Hey, I've got this problem. Like, how do I do that? Am I thinking about this in the right way, or can I think about it in a different way?" And so you have that kind of support, like an extended family, but it's a professional family. And so with the advancement of the ICA then, and getting to know and coming to some of the conferences and getting involved, then there's all these people that I met who have this background in crime prevention through environmental design. And some of it is quite different. So, you know, people come at it from different ways. They like one theory versus this theory, and just how CPTED has developed over the years. It was like finding a long lost brothers and sisters, because now I could talk to somebody and I didn't have to explain everything, and we could have a good conversation.
Yeah.
And eventually there were people, even though they were across the world, I could phone Tinnis in South Africa because he was doing something with housing, or I could phone Greg because he's doing something with a community, or Matea, or any of these other people, and sort of bounce something off of them. Or it's like, have you got a report? Like, I have to write this report. Like, I haven't even got to, this is what I'm thinking. Like, can you put me out there? And so, that support really helped and really broadened my experience, because I live in the real world, and it's a practice. And so learning from the academics that are in the ICA, and getting more knowledge on sort of the research and information, qualitative, quantitative information, that was really good. That was really good for me. So it's quite funny in the early days, talking to some of the people. They're like, "You're a planner? I can't even get my planners to talk to me. Like, how do you do that?" And I was the opposite. I was like, pounding on the door of the police station going, "Let me in, I have something good to talk about." And
that's nice.
We have finally come together quite a bit better, and the police are very supportive of some of the work that we do, and it's good.
We say that we as ICA are a big family, so that's true. Yeah, and would you recommend to the audience to become an active member of ICA?
Yes, I would. I think that particularly in the last little while, the amount of support that we can offer people, and the amount of work that the executive and the board members are doing, setting up the umbrella structure, the webinars, looking at putting out the newsletter again. Of course, we have our biannual conference every year, which brings together that global family, and I find it very helpful, because and almost eye-opening to look at what's happening in other parts of the world, like all the work that's being done in Latin America, some of the work that's, what was you and Tinnis did those presentations, CPTED
Extreme. Yeah, CPTED Extreme.
And I mean, those are situations that I would never be exposed to otherwise, ever. And so it's interesting how things are viewed in different countries and different cultures, and what can I take from that and apply maybe a little bit differently in my city, in my culture, in how we do things? What do I like from how they do things over here? What don't I like that I know that I don't want to apply? So I think if you keep your eyes open and your ears open, you can always, even if it's just learning that that's not the way you want to do something, you always learn something.
Yeah, you're right, completely right. And we say as ICA that we are connected in our differences. And this is an asset. It's something very positive.
Yes, yes, it is, for sure.
And as a final remark, Elisabeth, do you want to highlight a message for the audience?
Sure. I mean, these are struggling times pretty much for everybody. And I guess my message is always like when I talk to community members or when we talk to people here, it's go and talk to people, get to know your neighbors. Go out and shovel your sidewalk if you live in a winter city like I do, or mow your lawn, or say hello to your neighbors when they're out walking their dog, or help your neighbors out, because the stronger your connections are with your neighborhood, the safer you're going to be. And if for some reason something does happen, then you've still got those supports to help you through that difficult time. And I have to say that I've never really looked at the environment quite the same. Like I don't look at my city quite the same from before and after I was trained in crime prevention to environmental design.
That's beautiful, Elisabeth, and thank you for this this interesting interview. I am sure many people will give us a like and will subscribe, and will subscribe to our channel because of your interview.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a delight. Thank you, Macarena. I always enjoy chatting with you.
So bye-bye, Elisabeth, and see you soon.
Thanks, Macarena. Bye-bye.